Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rehman, live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about another Indian verdict the court has said regarding the Babri Mosque, which was constructed in 1527 when the Lodi dynasty was in power, and this was constructed on the orders rather of the great Emperor Babur. Now, interestingly, it is believed that this was the place where Lord Rama was born. This is the Hindu version of this story. And since the mosque was built, so this problem started way back. It gained a lot of momentum in 1853 also. That was the time period when the socio-political transition was taking place. This was the time of the British Raj. Eventually, since that particular area, it's just like when you talk about Multan. Multan is known to be a city where a lot of saints came. There are a lot of shrines out there. So Yodhya is one place where you'll see a lot of mandirs, a lot of, in particular, you talk about the Hindu religion. I mean, they have a lot of old architectural buildings there. Now, the interesting part is that since there was this conflict which was going on forever, but in 1949 again, the Hindus, they started this problem, and it became an issue and a half out there. Now, this is the part of UP which is the northern part of India primarily, close to the borders of Nepal. And interestingly, another very important fact is that when in 1990, when BJP was taking over and was emerging as a very powerful political party, that was a time when it was attacked. When it was attacked, at that time it is believed that more than 2,000 people died, and most of them were Muslims. Now, what happened after that, because there were 3 tombs of the mosque and the total area was 2.77 acres, and there was this verdict which was never announced, but in 2010 it was believed that, half of it is going to be for the mandir and half of the land is going to be for the mosque. But this wasn't accepted again. But 2 days ago, there was this verdict on the 9th of November that primarily this particular place is going to be given to the Hindus for the construction of a mandir, whereas the Muslims will be given a separate 5 acres of land somewhere close by. Now, this is exactly the problem is now a lot of people believe that the religious part, when you talk about those judges, in fact, they were overwhelmed by the religion rather than taking a decision on the merit. Now, this is the version of the Muslims. Now, what exactly is the problem? How it is going to be sorted out, or will it remain like this? That is going to be the question in our today's program. But before I introduce you to our panelists, our production team has prepared a report. Let's watch that.
The Indian Supreme Court has ruled that the site in Ayodhya in northern India, where Hindu mobs destroyed a 460-year-old mosque in 1992, must be handed over to a trust to oversee the construction of a Hindu temple. Although the lawyer fighting the case says that Muslim side in the legal battle of the Babri Masjid case possessed all the evidence under the law that the site belongs to the masjid. Zafar-Yab Jilani, the lawyer from Muslim side, says that Muslims were never stopped from offering prayers inside the Babri Masjid, as there was no such claim of any idol being at the site where the masjid was built. Pakistan has expressed deep concern over India top court's decision to clear the way for a Hindu temple to be constructed at the holy site of Babri Masjid, saying that it failed to uphold the demands of justice. The statement by Foreign Office demands the Indian government to ensure the protection of Muslims, their lives, their rights and properties, and avoid being yet again a silent spectator of Muslims becoming the victims of Hindu extremists and zealots. However, disturbing fact remains that India's top court has cleared the way for a Hindu temple to be constructed at the hotly disputed holy site, which furthers Hindu nationalist agenda of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The rising tide of extremist ideology in India based on the belief of Hindu supremacy and exclusion is a threat to regional peace and stability.
Well, we have with us to talk about this issue in our studio. On my right is Dr. Nazir Mahmood Saab. He's a senior columnist, writer, and a journalist. Thank you very much. And we have with us Ambassador Shahid M. Jikyani Saab. He's a senior diplomat, sir. Thank you very much. And we have with us Professor Dr. Rifat Hussain Saab, who is a strategic analyst, sir. Thank you very much. Now, first of all, sir, historically, if you look at the entire issue, sir, the Hindus, they have a version. The Muslims, they have a version. The Hindus believe that Lord Rama was born here, and there was this old temple which was demolished, and the new structure with the name of Babri Mosque was erected during the time on the permission of Babur, and it was completed in 1527, 16th century, rather I would say the beginning of the second quarter of the 16th century, sir. Now, the verdict has been passed, sir, but a lot of people still believe that the judges were under the influence of their own religion. And this particular verdict which was given wasn't on merit. Your take, sir.
I think definitely religion has played a role in it, and whenever we use religion either in politics or in justice, it becomes travesty of justice. So, a little bit background, till 1949 Muslims used to pray there. And in 1949 they say, some idols were placed in that place, in the mosque, and Hindus started claiming that it was the Janam Bhumi or birthplace of Lord Rama. Though Lord Rama himself is a mythical character, in history we don't see the dates that when and where Rama was born. So from 1949 it became a major issue. Then BJP from 1980s started, because BJP's essential agenda is Hindutva,
yes,
Hindu supremacy, Hindu policy. They are extremist, they follow extreme Hindu religion. So what they claimed, and if you recall, there was their leader Lal Kishan Advani. Lal Kishan Advani started his Rath Yatra, and in that Rath Yatra he led a procession all the way from various states.
He was the mastermind.
He was the mastermind,
yes,
and they claimed that we will go and we will attack and we will convert this Babri Mosque into a mosque. So it was very clear from there, from 1980s. And then in 1992, when Kalyan Singh, and he himself was a BJP chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, he gave a written assurance before that Rath Yatra that no damage will be done, and the UP government will make sure that Babri Masjid remains safe. It was a written affidavit submitted by Kalyan Singh, BJP chief minister of UP. This I am talking about November 1992. And then
on 6th December, right after 4 weeks, yes.
On 6th December, more than 150,000 volunteers, they call, from Vishwa Hindu Parishad, this World Hindu Council, and of course BJP is an offshoot of RSS and Vishwa Hindu Parishad. So these more than 150,000 extremist Hindus, I mean, we need to carefully say that these were extremist Hindus, not all Hindus were involved in that. So they attacked and they demolished the mosque. Now after that, what happened? Shankar Dayal Sharma was the president. And what he did, he dismissed the Kalyan Singh government, imposed presidential rule, and took over the whole land. The whole entire land, in addition to the mosque, is around 70 acres. It's not 5 or 3 acres. So
3 acres is the area where the construction was. Yeah.
But what he did, Shankar Dayal Sharma, he imposed presidential rule, dismissed Kalyan Singh government, and he gave this 70-acre land to the federal control. And then both Hindus and Muslims went to the court. And following riots also, where, as you said, 2,000 Muslims were killed, mostly Muslims. So it went on. There were 2 cases. One case was about the ownership of the mosque, and the other was inciting on violence. And that case was against Lal Kishan Advani and his senior politicians who were there, around 8 or 9 politicians. So it went on, and finally in 2010, after almost 18 years, the first verdict came. And that first verdict was in which this was a 3-member bench of Allahabad High Court. It was not Supreme Court. So in that 3-member bench, one judge was Muslim. So what they did, they said that the land should be divided on just 3-acre land. They said it should be divided into 3 parts. 1 acre should be given to mandir, temple, another acre should be given to mosque, and a third for the playground for a sports purpose. This is very interesting. In that, I am talking about 2010 verdict. Both Muslims and Hindus did not accept this.
They went to the court again?
Yes, they went to the court again. And these two cases went on till now. So overall, it has been 27 years of legal proceedings going on, 27 years. Now, finally, when the verdicts come, now we need to see, your question was about how religion has played a role in this decision. We need to see who the Chief Justice is. Chief Justice is Ranjan Gogoi. He is from Assam, and he is going to retire after a week. Probably on the 17th of November, he is going to retire. So this is probably one of his last major decisions. But what he has done before that, in Assam, Assam is his homeland. In Assam, we know that over 1 million Muslims have been deprived of their citizenship. And they are claiming that these are Bengalis who have come from Bangladesh, and they are trying to, move them to camps and ultimately move them out of India. And this Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi has not uttered a single word against that. He is from Assam. This is one which shows that he is religiously inclined. Secondly, in Kashmir, whatever India did, this was unconstitutional. According to Indian own constitution, it was unconstitutional. And this Ranjan Gogoi, Chief Justice of India, he did not say anything. He just said that in Kashmir, the situation should be normalized, and curfew should be lifted, and restrictions should be removed on movement. But he did not say anything about why India annexed Kashmir into India. This was constitutional violation. So these three
major issues,
Assam issue, Kashmir issue, and this issue, all these three issues show that, of course, religion has played a role here.
I think they must have been under a lot of influence and political pressure also. Sir, if you allow me, we've been joined in by Ahmed Bilal Sufi Saab, the legal expert, and let's take his verdict on this, about what he is thinking about this particular decision by the Indian court. Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed Bilal Sufi Saab. Can you hear me, sir? I think there's some technical problem, but anyway, sir, so your take on the same point.
My take on this is that I'm not surprised at all. Many of the decisions taken by the Supreme Court, both in India and Pakistan, have been political in nature. Look at what has happened when, in non-democratic dispensation in Pakistan, when the Supreme Court went beyond a certain limit and said that, you see, we cannot ignore what's happening outside the Supreme Court, and look as to what is happening, and we'd like to correct it. The amendments made in the constitution in Pakistan. In India also, the same thing has happened. If you look at the decision of the court, look at the whole decision, I've read it. The Supreme Court has not been convinced beyond a shadow of doubt that there ever was a Ram temple. What was there was a Babri Masjid. But look at at this time, the Hindutva or the Hindu in extremist forces, the Supreme Court could not have taken any chance. I'm not trying to condone what they have done, but this is exactly what has happened in the South Asian milieu, where Supreme Courts have taken political decisions rather than taking the decision on merit.
That is a very important point. Sir, if you allow me, sir, we'll take the same point to Ahmed Bilal Sufi Saab. Assalamu alaikum ji.
Walaikum assalam.
Ahmed Bilal Sufi Saab, assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for taking out your time and talking to us. Now, since we're talking about this issue of Babri Mosque, sir, when you believe that, I mean, it is a religious matter, the Hindus, they have their own point of view, the Muslims, they have their own version of it. Now, when you go to an international court, for example, if this particular case is taken to the International Court of Justice, sir, do you think the Muslims will be able to get some sort of a justification for whatever has happened on the 9th, sir?
Well, I don't think so. It's going to be very convenient and easy to go to International Court of Justice because still we need to figure out if we can go to the courts and if there is a basis for invoking the jurisdiction of the court. As of now, this is not clear. But having said that, Pakistan can raise this issue about the flawed reasoning of this judgment before various global forums and international forums. And I think Pakistan should raise that by highlighting the infirmities in this judgment and other defects which are so visible in this judgment. So I think Pakistan needs to put together a team of lawyers who should examine the judgment and its various aspects and also compare how this deviates from the existing jurisprudence relating to adverse possession, law of limitation, and other critical aspects. And then Pakistan should raise this issue before the international community as a judgment becoming an evidence of violation of international covenant and civil and political rights and violation and disregard of the rights of the minorities.
Now, Amir Bilal Sufi Sahab, we do understand the issue regarding the Indian occupied Kashmir. We do understand that the Muslims, they are having a very, I think, bad time at the moment, sir. So many have been killed, injured, and we all know that today is the 99th day of the curfew. My point is, sir, that on that particular case, since it is a dispute between the two countries and recognized by the United Nations, over here, sir, don't you think this is an internal issue of India, sir? This place is in UP, Ayodhya is in the northern India. Pakistan technically has got nothing to do with it, sir.
Well, actually, it is not exactly an internal issue because if you look at from the lens of international convention which talks about the upholding of human rights by all the states, so all the states have the stake in upholding of the human rights. Now, if India is a party to a multilateral treaty to which Pakistan is also a party, and by virtue of certain act of the state which is exhibited through a judicial order, there is a likelihood of endangering regional peace and security. There is a likelihood of unrest. There is a likelihood of serious skirmishes between various religious communities that can become a very serious issue. And that is where any neighboring country will have the right and stake, especially if the minority in the neighboring country is a majority in the country next to it. And that can inflame emotions a lot based on the religious aspect of this judgment. So in that context, I suggest that Pakistan should examine this judgment and take up this matter before global forums.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Now, sir, that's his point of view. Please.
I agree, but let us look at it in a larger perspective. And I said it is a flawed judgment. Naturally, it's a flawed judgment. Because according to, if you read the whole judgment, the judges rather have been mocking at people when they said there is a Ram temple. It was never a Ram temple. So their judgment was given in the, if you're looking at, you see like the weatherman who opens the windows and sees the weather, is it raining or is he telling the giving a flawed anticipation. What has happened is now, Bilal Sufi Saab says that we can take it to the international court. The problem is, we are not the custodian of this religion, I can tell you very frankly.
Exactly. There are 57 other Islamic countries too.
Yeah, and what about the custodian of the two holy mosques, Saudi Arabia? It should be in the forefront in examining this issue and saying that this was harm has been done to the rights of the Muslims. And now the judgment says that give this 5 acres to the Muslims, meaning what is this, some sort of, they are trying to compensate. The judgment should have been either saying this is Babri Mosque should be made here or rather should not be. You can't say, give them, say we compensate you. Now people are saying that the Muslims are quiet. The Muslims there now, which is a very large minority, can hardly take any chances. Their leadership is now, believe it or not, in the larger interest of security of the Muslims, have taken the decision not to appeal. So we have to take that into account also, that if the Muslims there, the leadership wants to keep this thing lying low, I think that would be a little more wiser. We can raise this issue on a human rights issue, yes, that the rights of the Muslims have been violated. That's okay.
What about the people who lost their lives in 1990, sir? More than 2,000 people got killed. Majority of them were Muslims.
Let me tell you, the people who lost their lives after the assassination of Indira Gandhi are still clamoring in the courts. They have not got any justice. This is the same thing. After the demise of Jawaharlal Nehru, who at least was secular, this secularism has got a dent right from the beginning, right from Mrs. Indira Gandhi's rule till today. Today it's very open now. There is no secularism. If you ask the Indian leadership, they will say no, the majority of the people in India are Hindus and this is their right. And the other minorities have to live a subjugated life. This is something which is very sad, but this is a reality.
So this has taken place over a period of last 20, 25 years, or maybe a little more than that. Dr. Saab, your take, sir.
Well,
How do you view this?
I think there are two things which are very important. One is that it's a unanimous decision of the Supreme Court. Even though we may criticize it, it's a flawed judgment. It does not address the historical or the archaeological evidence issues. Apart from this, the judgment is very clear, and they have decided, they have given this verdict in favor of the Hindutva, or people who are influenced by the Hindutva ideology. Having said that, I do not think that Pakistan has a very strong legal case, because whenever the Supreme Court, which is the highest judicial organ of a state,
Correct.
gives a judgment of this type,
And they're also unanimous. But,
and apart from this, there are no international conventions or international treaties that have been violated as a result of this judgment. So Pakistan should seriously consider before we approach the OIC or before we go to the international forum, because they can. In case of Kashmir, the situation is very different, because there are UN Security Council resolutions which recognize international dispute, and to which both India and Pakistan are a party. So that situation cannot be compared to this internal issue, which I think is a flawed decision. And let me quote the earlier issue that you have raised while you asked Dr. Saab about the relationship between religion and politics. Romila Thapar, who is one of the best known and the most authentic historian, she has written a column in the Hindus in which she has described that this decision is reflective of the contemporary realities of Indian politics, by which the religion has been used as a tool to influence the decisions of the Supreme Court. Now, the most important thing about this judgment is that that it has been given by the Supreme Court, and then it's a unanimous decision, and there are no laws. However, one issue that I must raise is that in case of Pakistan and India, there is Bilal Sufi Sahab has talked about international peace or security of the region being disturbed. There is a very important bilateral agreement which is known as the Liaquat-Nehru agreement, in which both countries, which was signed between the two countries in 1951, under which both countries committed themselves to promote communal harmony. So if as a result of this decision, the communal issue or the relationship between the Hindu and the Muslim communities get disturbed to the point where it has a spillover effect on Pakistan relationship, only then Pakistan can draw certain implications of the Nehru-Liaquat Pact for the future prospect between India and Pakistan. But I think we are hurt by this decision, we are saddened by this decision, but the fact remains that this is a decision which has been delivered by the Indian Supreme Court in the contemporary context of the Hindutva philosophy. And I had no doubt in my mind that if you look at some of the images, I was going through Twitter, and one image which caught my attention was that existing Prime Minister Narendra Modi was part of the crowd of 150,000 people which had assaulted the Babri Mosque.
he has always been a part of all the notorious activities taking place in India or outside India.
Talk about Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, exactly. And he admitted it.
Yeah, and now he's unfortunately the Prime Minister of India. So under his dispensation, I cannot imagine any state institution to be free of the politics of Hindu religion.
Now, politics, Hindu religion and its influence. Now, a lot of people are looking at the Supreme Court of India regarding the decision of 370's abrogation, right, sir? We should not expect much, should we?
You're right, I think I agree. We should not expect much. For 2-3 reasons. One, within India, though there are over between 200 and 250 million Muslims in India all over, even more than Pakistan. Now, when Modi did this, annexed Kashmir, there was no major reaction from within India also, that we have to keep in mind. And as Honorable Ambassador Mr. Kiani also very rightly, and I agree with him, that now this is the time that we should start rethinking. And you know, if we keep claiming that we are the only ones in the world who are responsible for everything which is happening to Muslims anywhere in the world, this strategy or this tendency has not helped us a
As
lot.
I remember, General Musharraf used to say, "Thekedar,
Yes,
Musalmano ke
yes,
thekedar."
yes. So now I think it is about time that we thought about it and we decided that enough is enough, because there are 55 Muslim countries in the OIC, Organization of Islam,
Indeed, sir.
Muslim countries. They have not done much. No, apart from 2 or 3 countries, Malaysia,
Turkey.
Iran, Turkey, and they also, they have come out very well in comparison with other 50-52 countries. But other 50-52 countries have not even condemned this. So where do we stand? I mean, if within, now this current Chief Justice is going to retire, as I said, within a week. Even if a new Chief Justice comes, who is going to challenge this decision? Within India, Muslims are, as I said, that, you know, most Muslims are just keeping quiet. And just in Babri Mosque case also, they will be there, they are afraid, and they just want to move forward. They said, okay, what is done is done. So apparently what is happening in Kashmir, what has happened to Palestine? People will keep resisting. This does not mean that the resistance will die down.
A similar
People
model
will,
at a larger scale.
at a larger scale, they will. Interestingly, population is also almost the same. If you look at Palestine and if you look at Kashmir, population is almost the same. So, and probably Modi has taken lesson from Israel, from Netanyahu, because he is supposed to be his good friend. They frequently meet each other. So he has taken a line from him, and probably he has decided that what if Israel could do this for 50 years, I can do it for another 50 years. But even if they do it for next 50 years, I think the struggle of Kashmiri people, they may keep quiet for a while, but this desire, if a particular community anywhere in the world, if a particular community does not want to stay in a greater dispensation and they are not happy, no matter whatever you do, even if, you know, Modi is promising that I will do economic changes, economic reforms, Kashmir will prosper, even if, though I doubt that will happen, because tourism will not prosper unless people are with the government, people won't come. But even suppose that if some prosperity comes, even then I think Kashmiri people will not be happy there. Their struggle will carry on. But unfortunately, countries like Pakistan cannot do much unless the whole Muslim world unites and does something.
I mean, that is something which is beyond even our imagination, that they'll be united and they'll come up with a unanimous kind of a decision. It won't happen like that. It's a very interesting story which I read today, in fact. I was going through this issue of Ayodhya, and you know, and suddenly there was this article which popped up, and that was about, interestingly, Taj Mahal. Now the certain authorities within India are actually revisiting the history of Taj Mahal. That is it a myth, or what exactly was it? And they're trying to, you know, get some flaws out, most likely, and this could be the next challenge, because that the famous king, you know, erected this huge, it's one of the wonders of the world, and this was actually not the case. This is what they're trying to prove, sir.
Well, if that is so, I can just quote to you. I was the head of the Pakistani consulate in Birmingham when this issue happened. I still recall that the UK Secretary of State for Home, he came to Birmingham, and I, the Indian and the Bangladeshi and other things, 2 honorary consulates were called at the office of the Chief Constable, and we were requested to go around and tell people to calm down, and I did so. I went around many places, towns and cities, and requesting them. And I saw something another interesting which I want to narrate to you. There are many churches now which has become mosques in United Kingdom. Now if that is so, maybe 30 years down the road, some Christian will get up and say, well, let's demolish this mosque now. This used to be a church, and it is a church. This issue of, you see, trying to, you know, reconstruct history is not going to work. they have done this, and now you are telling me that there are I don't know about Taj Mahal, but they are working over 2 other mosques in UP. I just read, over which they are working that they would like to challenge it in the Supreme Court and get this thing reduced to rubble and then make some Ram Mandir. These are very disturbing trends. Now, look at what has happened just in these last few days. While there should have been a message of religious harmony by the Kartarpur, corridor which was made, right at this time, the Indian government decides. Naturally, it could have requested the Supreme Court to give the decision maybe after 2 weeks, maybe after 1 month.
It was choreographed.
Yeah, right at this time, what are they trying to do? Hurt people's feeling that they ask the Supreme Court to give the decision on a Saturday. What kind of message are they trying to portray?
Message is very clear. It is very clear.
And then they blame Pakistan, that Pakistan is giving.
If I may say, government of the Hindus, by the Hindus, for the Hindus.
For the Hindus.
Let's put it this way.
And they are celebrating, each one of them is celebrating that this is, meaning in the 21st century, where religion should become a personal matter for every one of us across the border. A personal matter. What we beliefs are, what we practice. Here we are now going back into the Stone Ages or in the Crusades, where people are talking about turning this thing. And the Prime Minister of India, who, meaning he commands a very big majority, should be able to direct the energies of these people towards something positive. This Kartarpura should become a symbol of religious harmony. This will become, in my opinion, a vehicle where Pakistan, India, at some time, maybe 2-3 years down the road, will be able to sit down and talk. And look what they have done. And if they have, I am not suggesting that we go to any courts, and Professor Saab is very right, no precedents. But why on earth would the Indian government vitiate this atmosphere?
Because this is what they are selling. This is what they are actually relying on.
And creating fear in the hearts of the Muslims. They are, okay, we have done this, now we will do that.
This is not going to stop.
The unfortunate part of the South Asian countries are where
Are they trying to eliminate the history of the Mughals and the Muslim emperors, sir?
Rewriting.
Because if you remember, sir, I was just having a very interesting conversation with one of my friends, sir, the other day. And some very interesting concepts came up. For example, sir, if you look at what ISIS or ISIL did in Syria, demolished all the historical buildings, the museums and everything. Most of what the Iraqis had in 1990 was stolen from Iraq, taken to UK and USA.
In the museums now.
Everything. East India Company comes to this part of the world and we all know what happened. That is history, but that is reality as well. Now my point is, sir, that don't you think that this Hindutva concept also, they have this kind of a complex that we were ruled by the Afghans and the Persians and the Muslims from that part of the world, sir. So always afraid of the northern side. Whoever came conquered. Except for Ashoka, nobody else ever was able to have a proper full-fledged government all over India. But what I'm saying is, sir, historical changes. Now, you Google things. You go on Wikipedia. Who's writing, who's controlling this information? It's very simple. Books will be for the old school of thought, for those people, Now, the next generation, maybe 25 years, 30 years, 50 years down the line, sir, if you burn the books and the data is only available on the internet.
Rewriting history.
Absolutely. Another 200 years down the line, who would know what happened then? Isn't it, sir?
Well, my own opinion on this issue is, it's not the Indians or the Indian leadership saying that we were not ruled. I think it is their superiority, their religion. You look at the Mahabharata and others, which they always invoke. Look around the Indian houses around the world. They have these friendship houses where these movies are shown and their dances are shown and Mahabharata is preserved. This is what they are. They are very, they are very proud of their religion, very proud of their the religious practices that they have. That is not in their mind, believe it or not. What the Babur and this and that, that's not in their mind. It is their superiority, their superior culture, they think their religion, which has been there since the Stone Ages, and I doubt very much they are going to go away till this world ends.
Sir.
Well, I think it's not only the part of the Indian or the BJP's attempt to remove all traces or all symbols of Muslim heritage or Muslim rule over India. It is something which is much more sinister because they are using now music. I was actually looking at some of the, there's a big story in the New York Times today whereby there is this one young lady who thrives wherever she goes, and she has been interviewed by the New York Times, and she has held concerts in which especially the Hindu superiority or cultural superiority songs are being used as the theme songs for her concerts. And she has been invited by the affluent Hindus or the extremists to their families, and she has been, her concerts have been sponsored by them. So, which means that Indians are using all
the possible,
all the possible tools or all possible venues which can be used to legitimize the claim, which is a false claim, that India was always was the land of Lord Rama or Janam Bhumi, and all these things. This is a false narrative. But the most interesting thing is that why this project will not succeed, because of the simple reason that the people are using digital archives to preserve the memory, which was only a fading memory, but you can erase the memory, but in the digital archives that memory has been preserved. And the most important thing about this Ayodhya decision of the Supreme Court that we are talking about is that it does not take into consideration the archaeological evidence. There is a big debate within India that was there a mandir before the Babri Mosque was built in 1562 or not, and Supreme Court decision is silent on this. They are saying that yes, we are not sure whether it was the place of it was the birthplace of Lord Rama, because there is no evidence for it. And as Manzoor Sahib has correctly pointed out, that the problem started in 1949 when somebody tampered with it, and the custodians and who were supposed to be responsible for preservation of the Babri Mosque, they were beaten, and sometime and the murtis were placed inside just to legitimize this claim. So everybody knows about the politics of it, but the saddest part is that we have to mobilize the world public opinion in terms of the conservation and India's disrespect for the conservation of cultural and heritage sites inside India, and similarly, Pakistan should not shy away from even preserving the Hindu cultural sites which are part of the cultural heritage of Pakistan. Which
we do, sir. One of the oldest mandirs is right close to that. Kalaka.
So I think that should be our plea to the international community, that look, what is being done in the name of Hindutva is a systematic and planned destruction of all vestiges of cultural and of the Muslim rule over India, and that should be the plan.
Don't you think, Dr. Saab, the Indians or this government of BJP, let me put it this way, has actually exposed so many fragile fault lines of the Indians?
Yes, of course. And there is a whole project which is now being introduced by by no less than the Indian Educational Board to rewrite history books, in which even a little bit of evidence that exists in terms of the historical memory, in terms of historical books, in which they are going to rewrite the contemporary Indian history in the light of what their agenda is. So I think we should be concerned about this.
So tampering with the past.
Yeah, tampering with the past, and imposing your contemporary interpretation on the reviving the past, but in a particular way. So that's something that I think if we take that tack, perhaps the world will be much more concerned and will be much more willing to listen to Pakistani complaint rather than turning it into an India Muslim issue.
Yeah. Now, Russell, quick comment. I was just told that we hardly have any time, sir. But your comment regarding Kartarpur Corridor, I think that was one of the best events I've witnessed. I wish
Great
I was
initiative.
there, but I just watched it on TV.
I think very great initiative and step we have taken, and this has allowed. It was so pleasant to see all these Sikh men and women and even children coming and praying at their one of the holiest places there. So it was a beautiful sight to hold. So I think we can feel proud of it that we have done it. Now India should respond in kind.
What they did on the 9th of November,
yes,
and what we did on the 9th of November, that tells
but
the
having
story.
said that, we should not confine our generosity only to Kartarpur. I think, we have other borders also, like I think Khograpar transportation should be facilitated. Even with Afghanistan, we have issues, on the border. So Afghans are facing difficulties in getting visas and all. So I think government of Pakistan has done a very good step, taken a very good step. But I think we should, irrespective of how India responds, I think we should. This was an almost a unilateral step by Pakistan, and which was very good. Pakistan should have taken it. So similarly, I think with Afghanistan also we should try to normalize relationship and facilitate their travel. And on the Khograpar border also, because there are very many split families in Karachi, they want to travel, they have to come all the way here. So it should be done. So it is a very good step.
So your take?
I said this is, believe it or not, a bridge of friendship. This is a vehicle, this corridor. I was hearing Prime Minister Modi's commending Pakistan for having made this in such a, in such a short period.
9 months.
9 months. And flawlessly made. I think the FW gets the credit, the government of Pakistan.
Job,
I think this is a vehicle because to maintain this corridor, because this is an extraordinary step for just, people show their cards and they give ticket. I think to maintain this thing, Pakistan will have to remain engaged, to monitor this thing, to improve the working of this, and this can become a vehicle to restart the talks between Pakistan and India.
Sir?
Well, I think it's a good step, it's a great step in terms of promoting people-to-people contact, even though our contact in this context is limited to the Sikh community, but I think the message will get across, and people-to-people contact is a must if the relationship between India and Pakistan have to normalize. But I think we must not take our eyes off the Kashmir ball, and we must continue to highlight the Indian brutalities and Indian savagery. It has been over 100 days when the Indians, Kashmir people of Kashmir Valley, they remain under lockdown. So we should not let this bridge or the goodwill created by this bridge overtake what the
real issue is.
The real issues. Yeah.
Anyway, Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank
It
you
was a
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much, sir. And that's all we have for this hour. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.